What is going on in the entertainment industry right now? Why do modern movies and TV shows feel so shallow, uninspiring, and forgettable? What happened to the creation of meaningful characters and good stories? These days, it feels harder than ever to find real value in films. There are a few exceptions, of course, which I plan to talk about it in the future, but it's becoming increasingly rare to come across. Part of the problem is that the industry is obsessed with modernizing their characters, and the main reason they're doing this is because, apparently, masculinity is somehow toxic.
The original cartoon came out in 1937, and very evidently so. There's a big focus on her love story with a guy who literally stalks her.
Yeah.
Weird. All of Andrew's scenes could get cut. Who knows? It's Hollywood, baby.
They feel that they have the obligation to redefine what a man should be, and in the process of modernizing it, they have completely forgotten two elements that make films so special, not just for masculinity, but in general. And that is the creation of meaningful characters and a well written story. It's that simple, yet difficult to accomplish. And that is why storytelling is an art. But modern Hollywood is so obsessed with gender roles that they have completely forgotten the basics. While reshaping masculinity, they have stripped away all of the core values that creates a healthy masculine figure. Since when did things like respect, family, honor, and love go out of style? We're not seeing these things on our screen anymore, and instead, they replace it with just pure, meaningless, boring entertainment. Haven't they thought for a second that some values are timeless and that they are essential to sustain social harmony? Heck, people more than ever are craving to see these values on their screen again.
You're goddamn right.
So, in a space that's so chaotic and confusing, with so many polarizing opinions, where can we find a good example of healthy masculinity? There are a few we can choose from, but today I want to tackle one that I feel has been almost completely forgotten. And that's Mufasa's masculinity from The Lion King. There's something noble about Mufasa, a kind of character we rarely see anymore, but one we deeply need. He embodies a form of masculinity that's being overlooked in today's society. From the very beginning of the movie, we can see Mufasa greeting his friends and being happy to see them, especially at Rafiki. He truly respects him and greets him like a friend. Then he immediately approaches Sarabi and turns to see his recently born son Simba. There's already a lot happening here. Mufasa is shown to us as a prideful leader, a friend, a loving husband and father in less than 1 minute of screen time. His presence and the way he interacts with others says a lot about his character and personality. As a man holding a position of power, he's not afraid of showing respect, affection, and love in the presence of others. This is because he's not insecure and not trapped in a shallow expression of strength. True strength includes the ability to be joyful, funny, and compassionate. But remember, this is confidence coming from empathy, in contrast with narcissism. Confidence that comes from empathy can display love and kindness to others, whereas confidence that comes from narcissism displays fear and disrespect towards others, because you cannot show respect if you consider yourself superior to everyone else, disregarding the humanity of the individuals that surrounds you. The first lesson that Mufasa teaches Simba to become a leader are the boundaries of their kingdom, and warning Simba not to venture beyond its borders, and to respect the boundaries of what nature has already given them. And finally, When Mufasa tells Simba, a king's time as ruler rises and falls like the sun, he's not just talking about power, but knowing your place in something greater than yourself. That power is temporary, and no king, no matter how great, rules forever. This lesson is important because it grounds Simba in reality and responsibility. It teaches him that being a king isn't about control or permanence, but about serving others while your time lasts. Just like the sun, a king brings light during his time, but must also step aside to let the next generation rise. By sharing this, Mufasa is preparing Simba for two things: the weight of leadership and the acceptance of mortality. A wise ruler must understand both. Mufasa wants Simba to see that a king's greatness isn't in how long he reigns, but in how well he uses the time he's given, with dignity, compassion, and respect for the natural order. Speaking about natural order, this is perhaps the most important concept in the whole movie, and that is the concept of the circle of life. This is the core of Mufasa's moral philosophy, that we are all part of a delicate balance, and that we must act in accordance with it, not in defiance of it. In many ways, this echoes the philosophy of Immanuel Kant, one of the most influential thinkers on morality in Western history. Kant believed that true goodness doesn't come from what benefits us, but from whether our actions respect a universal moral law, not because we're forced to, but because it is right. This is what Kant called the categorical imperative. Act only according to that maxim, whereby you can, at the same time, will that it shall become a universal law. In other words, will the world be better if everyone did what I'm doing? Will nature itself continue to function if this action became universal? In this scene, Mufasa explains to Simba the principles of the circle of life. He tells him that everything exists together in a delicate balance, and that a king must understand this balance. He also emphasizes that he must respect all creatures, from the crawling ant to the leaping antelope. Mufasa isn't saying, "You're powerful, so do whatever you feel like doing." He's saying, "You have power, so you must act with responsibility, with respect for the natural order, because you're just one part of it." This is pure Kantian ethics. The idea that our individual will is not above the moral law, but subject to it, and that the highest form of moral maturity is when we don't act out of instinct or self-interest, but because we recognize a deeper principle that guides all of us. Simba is still confused and asks his father how can you respect the animals they prey on. He then explains that when they die, their bodies become the grass, and the antelope eat the grass. Therefore, they are all connected to the circle of life. Mufasa explains that life is not about domination or survival alone, but about interdependence and balance. Every creature, great or small, plays a part in a larger natural order. Understand that death is not the end, but part of the cycle. See himself as part of something larger than himself, not the center of it. Where Scar twists nature for his own gain, Mufasa submits to it with wisdom and humility. He sees himself not as a god, but as a guardian of a law that he did not create, and that he must one day leave behind. After Simba and Nala get into trouble for crossing the borders of the Pride Lands, Mufasa steps in, this time as a father. He shows some tough love, scolding Simba and making his disappointment clear, but then he listens. And when he hears his son's honest reasoning, Mufasa realizes that Simba wasn't trying to rebel out of spite. He was trying to live up to the image of his father. He gently explains that being brave doesn't mean looking for trouble, it means being wise enough to know when to act. He doesn't escalate the situation, he doesn't punish out of pride. This might be one of the most underrated aspects of masculinity, showing vulnerability. Mufasa is teaching Simba that feeling fear isn't weakness, it's a sign that you care, that someone or something matters deeply to you. By admitting this, Mufasa isn't diminishing himself, he's showing true strength, the kind that comes from being completely comfortable in your own skin. He doesn't need to pretend to be invincible. He's already secured in who he is. That kind of emotional honesty is rare. It shows a man who accepts both his strength and his vulnerability, and understands that both can coexist. And that's what makes Mufasa so powerful. Not because he hides his emotions, but because he knows when to share them. Talking about underrated male traits, playfulness is one of them. Think of Gandalf's fireworks, for example, or in this case, Mufasa playing with Simba. Their playfulness isn't weakness, it's a sign of emotional depth. It humanizes and deepens it. He shows himself playfully when teaching Simba how to pounce. He also eases the tension after he scolded Simba because once he understood why Simba did what he did, there was no necessity to carry on the serious dialogue. It was not necessary anymore because he knew that Simba had learned his lesson. When Mufasa needs to confront danger, he becomes a commanding force of will and strength, but he also knows when to be joyful and playful. This combination signals mastery of emotional depth and confidence. Someone who is not insecure about appearing soft because he knows that he has the inner strength to rise and meet with danger. Mufasa teaches that all life is connected and that a leader must act in harmony with this balance. When he sacrifices himself to save Simba, he's not stepping outside of this belief, he's fulfilling it. He understands that his role is to protect the future, even at the cost of his own life. That death is not meaningless, it's part of a cycle. By saving Simba, he's preserving the balance of the circle of life itself, because Simba represents the next generation. Therefore, greatness is knowing when to make sacrifices in order to protect those that you love. He wasn't just acting as a father, he was not just merely fulfilling a duty, he was living everything he believed in. His spirit lives on, guiding Simba through the rest of his journey. Even in death, Mufasa fulfills the very principle he taught, that we are all connected, that our lives have meaning through sacrifice, duty, and love. The image of masculinity is fractured between two extremes. One side preaches dominance at any cost, and the other celebrates passivity as virtue. Mufasa reminds us of a third path, one that is ancient, noble, and deeply human. Mufasa embodies a quiet confidence that does not demand validation. His masculinity is rooted in service, not ego, in legacy, not image. He's the kind of man who sees power as responsibility, not privilege. And perhaps that is what makes his brief presence in the film so impactful. Mufasa teaches us that true masculinity is not about being feared or being praised. It's about being rooted in values, in love, and in something greater than yourself. And if we are honest with ourselves, that is what we all long for: a sense of direction, a voice of clarity, a reason to become better. So maybe the real power of Mufasa's character isn't just that he's a great father or a noble king. Maybe it's that he shows us what could be possible if we choose to reject the shallow templates handed to us and instead pursue wholeness, wisdom, and heart. Maybe in remembering Mufasa, we remember something about ourselves that the world has tried to make us forget. And if that's the case, then his voice is not just meant for Simba, it's meant for all of us. Hey guys, if you reached this far, thank you for watching until the end. It means a lot to me. Making this video was challenging, but I learned a lot. I know it's not perfect and that there are a few things I can improve on, but I'm happy with it, especially because it's my first video. So if you like my work, please consider liking and subscribing. It will help my channel a lot because I do intend to continue making videos like this. If you want to share your feedback or just leave your opinion, please do so by leaving a comment below. Again, thank you so much for your time, and I hope I made your day just a little bit better. See you soon and stay safe.